The Basilica of St. Clement is a Roman Catholic minor basilica dedicated to Pope Clement I, located in Rome, Italy. Archaeologically speaking, the structure is a three-tiered complex of buildings. The present basilica, built just before the year 1100 during the height of the Middle Ages, beneath the present basilica is a 4th century basilica that had been converted out of the home of a Roman nobleman, part of which had in the 1st century briefly served as an early church, and a basement of which had in the 2nd century briefly served as a mithraeum. The home of the Roman nobleman had been built on the foundations of Republican-era villa and warehouse that had been destroyed in the Great Fire of 64 AD. History of the San Clemente al Laterano. This ancient church was transformed over the centuries from a private home that was the site of clandestine Christian worship in the 1st century to a grand public basilica by the 6th century, reflecting the emerging Catholic Church's growing legitimacy and power. The archaeological traces of the basilica's history were discovered in the 1860s by Joseph Maluli, prior of the House of Irish Dominicans at San Clemente. Before the 4th century, the lowest levels of the present basilica contained remnants of the foundation of a possibly Republican-era building that might have been destroyed in the Great Fire of 64. An industrial building, perhaps the Imperial Mint of Rome, although this identification has been challenged, was built or remodeled on the same site during the Flavian period. Shortly after, an insula, or apartment block, was also built. It was separated from the industrial building by a narrow alleyway. About 100 years later, a mithraeum, a sanctuary of the cult of Mithras, was built in the courtyard of the insula. The main cult room, which is about 9.6 meters long and 6 meters wide, was discovered in 1867 but could not be investigated until 1914 due to lack of drainage. The exeter, the shallow apse at the far end of the low vaulted space, was trimmed with pumice to render it more cave-like. Central to the main room of the sanctuary was found an altar in the shape of a sarcophagus, and with the main cult relief of the tower octony on its front face. The torchbearer's cortis and cortopates appear on respectively the left and right faces of the same monument. A dedicatory inscription identifies the donor as one Pater Cnaeus Arius Claudianus, perhaps of the same clan as Titus Arius Antoninus's mother. Other monuments discovered in the sanctuary include a bust of Sol kept in the sanctuary in a niche near the entrance, and a figure of Mithras Petrogeneris, i.e., Mithras born of the rock. Fragments of statuary of the two torchbearers were also found. One of the rooms adjoining the main chamber has two oblong brickwork enclosures, one of which was used as a ritual refuse pit for remnants of the cult meal. All three monuments mentioned above are still on display in the mithraeum. A fourth monument, a statue of St. Peter found in the Speleum's vestibule and still on display there, is not of the mysteries. 4th–11th century. At some time in the 4th century, the lower level of the industrial building was filled in with dirt and rubble and its second floor remodeled. An apse was built out over part of the domus, whose lowest floor, with the mithraeum, was also filled in. This first basilica is known to have existed in 392, when St. Jerome wrote of the church dedicated to St. Clement I.e. Pope Clement I, a 1st century AD Christian convert and considered by patrologists and ecclesiastical historians to be identical with Titus Flavius Clemens. Restorations were undertaken in the 9th century in California 1080–99. The early basilica was the site of councils presided over by Pope Zosimus and Symmachus. The last major event that took place in the lower basilica was the election in 1099 of Cardinal Ranierius of St. Clemente as Pope Paschal II. Apart from those in Santa Maria Antiqua, The largest collection of early medieval wall paintings in Rome is to be found in the lower Basilica of San Clemente. 4 of the largest frescoes in the basilica were sponsored by a lay couple, Berthold Werner and Maria Massalaria, at some time in the last third of the 11th century, and focus on the life, miracles, and translation of St. Clement, and on the life of Saint Alexius. Benno and Maria are shown in 2 of the compositions, once on the facade of the basilica together with their children Altilia and Clemens, offering gifts to Saint Clement, and on a pillar on the left side of the nave, where they are portrayed on a small scale witnessing a miracle performed by Saint Clement. Below this last scene is one of the earliest examples of the passage from a Latin to vernacular Italian, a fresco of the pagan Sicinius and his servants, who think they have captured St. Clement but are dragging a column instead. Sicinius encourages the servants in Italian, figli della beaute trait, Gosmari, Alberto trait, Falli di retro colo palo, carvancel, which translated into English means, "Come on, you sons of bitches, pull. Come on, Gosmari, Albertello, pull. Carvancello, give it to him from the back with the pole." The saint speaks in Latin, in a cross-shaped inscription, Jurishem cordis vestris saxa trafiri marustis, which means, "You deserve to drag stones due to the hardness of your hearts." Art historians have long regarded Berthold Werner and Maria Massalaria as partisans of the now canonical Reform Popes Gregory VII, Urban II, and Pascal II, and the frescoes as Reform Party propaganda. However, if the paintings date to the 1080s or 1090s, as many art historians believe, then Benno and Maria may instead have favored the anti-Pope Clement III, whom they sought to honor through paintings about the early Christian pope of the same name. The second basilica, the current basilica, was rebuilt in one campaign by Cardinal Anastasius, California 1099, California 1120. A now outdated hypothesis held that the original church had burned out during the Norman sack of the city under Robert Guiscard in 1084, but no evidence of fire damage in the lower basilica has been found to date. One possible explanation is that the lower basilica was filled in and the new church built on top due to the close association of the lower structure with the imperial opposition Pope Clement III. Wybert of Ravenna. Today, it is one of the most richly adorned churches in Rome. The ceremonial entrance is through an atrium surrounded by arcades, which now serves as a cloister, with conventual buildings surrounding it. Fronting the atrium is the chaste facade of Carlo Stefano Fontana, supported on antique columns, and his little campanile. The basilica church behind it is in 3 naves divided by arcades on ancient marble granite columns, with cosmatesque inlaid paving. The 12th century Schola Cantorum incorporates marble elements from the original basilica. Behind it, in the presbytery, is a ciborium raised on 4 grey violet columns over the shrine of Clement in the crypt below. The episcopal seat stands in the apse, which is covered with mosaics on the theme of the Triumph of the Cross that are a high point of Roman 12th century mosaics. Irish Dominicans have been the caretakers of San Clemente since 1667, when England outlawed the Irish Catholic Church and expelled the entire clergy. Pope Urban VIII gave them refuge at San Clemente, where they have remained, running a residence for priests studying and teaching in Rome. The Dominicans themselves conducted the excavations in the 1950s in collaboration with Italian archaeology students. On one wall in the atrium is a plaque affixed by Pope Clement XI in 1715, praising the Basilica of Saint Clement. This ancient church has withstood the ravages of the centuries. Clement undertook restorations to the venerable structure, which he found dilapidated. He selected Carlo Carlo Stefano Fontana as architect, who erected a new facade, completed in 1719. The carved and gilded coffered ceilings of nave and aisles, fitted with paintings, date from this time, as do the stucco decor, Ionic capitals and frescoes. The inscriptions found in S. Clemente, a valuable source illustrating the history of the basilica, have been collected and published by Vincenzo Forstler. In one lateral chapel, there is a shrine with the tomb of St. Cyril of the Saints Cyril and Methodius, who translated the Bible into Slavic language, created the Glagolitic alphabet, and Christianized the Slavicis. Pope John Paul II used to pray the sometimes for Poland and the Slavic countries. The chapel also holds a Madonna by Giovanni Battista Salvi da Sassoferrato. The current cardinal priest of the titulus S. Clementi is Adrianus Johannes Simonus, Archbishop Emeritus of Utrecht in the Netherlands. Pope Pascal II was one of the previous holders of the titulus. Relics: Saint Ignatius of Antioch, the Basilica di San Clemente in fiction. The Church of S. Tommaso in Pallaria, mentioned in Nio Marches when in Rome, is modeled closely on S. Clemente. The crypto-thriller The Sword of Moses by Dominic Selwood has several scenes set on all three levels of the Basilica di San Clemente: the Upper Basilica, the Lower Basilica, and the Roman Mithraeum. Bibliography: Maluli, Joseph, St. Clement, Pope and Martyr and his Basilica in Rome, reprint from first edition in 1873, Kessinger Publishing, LLC, ISBN 0-548-77854-X. Leonard E. Boyle, Eileen M. C. Kane, Federico Guidabaldi, Luke Dempsey, San Clemente Miscellany. 2. Art and Archaeology. Joan Barclay Lloyd, The Medieval Church and Canonry of S. Clemente in Rome. Federico Guidabaldi, Claudia Barsanti, Alessandra Guildu Guidabaldi, San Clemente. Papandrea, James L. Rome. A Pilgrim's Guide to the Eternal City, Cascade Books, ISBN 9781610972680.